some incredible comments even from my friends saying, hey, Mr. Free Enterprise capitalist guy, where's your solution now? If it wasn't for the federal government, we'd really be in trouble. And I know from my gut feeling that we are in trouble, and we're only prolonging the continued economic situation. But worse than that, we are making history in terms of putting America in a debt picture that it cannot ever recover from. So I'm hoping I can quickly explain why this should be so obvious. Why is it obvious to me, and yet 90% of the masses saying, well, yeah, I get it. The free enterprise thing really built America, and said, but boy, we're in trouble now. What do you do from here? Well, first of all, you have to recognize, where is the $2 trillion coming from? The federal government. Who is the federal government? There is this belief on the street that human beings cannot act generously to help their fellow community citizens without the government forcing them to do that. Without a bailout, homes would be destroyed, banks would evict everybody and put them in the streets if the government didn't enforce some type of a moratorium on payments of all bills. It seems right now that, that's why I'm sure glad they're doing that, because I'm out of a job and yet my landlord expects to be paid. Well, does he? And that's the question that no one gets answered, because the federal government has stepped in to prevent citizens from doing what they most likely would do. We learned after Ronald Reagan slashed so much welfare going out to America, just making sure that everybody had money whether they worked or not, and it was really adding to the national debt. And guess what happened when they cut $500 billion from charity organizations and whatever? Those charity organizations now started getting large contributions from corporations. What happens when there is no alternative? Human beings do step in. And I believe right now, if you look around, without a government decree, a moratorium on collecting rents and mortgages and pushing back income tax, all those things. So what would happen if the government just stayed out of it and said, we have to pull together? Look at the mask situation. The federal government did not have enough masks. Now, as of today, this is Sunday, April 8th, we've got out-of-work housekeepers at hotels that have taken torn bed sheets out of the trash bins at the hotels. They'd been taking them home all along to use as material. Marriott never cared. You've got housekeepers literally sewing face masks. We're going to be awash in face masks very quickly, and you won't hear of the demand for face masks much longer. Now they come out and say you must wear a face mask, but it doesn't have to be a face mask. It can be a San Diego Charger. There, I dated myself. They could be a Los Angeles Charger t-shirt that you cut up, a New York Jets shirt that nobody wears anymore. But the point is, humans do things when they become, when they have to face a crisis. And within each community, we don't know how many generous landlords there are out there until all of a sudden all of their tenants don't have income and can't pay rent and can't pay their employees. Does a owner of a 40-story office building, is he going to enjoy kicking out his entire collection of tenants from the storefronts to the office holders? It's just not going to happen. But not from government decree. When we have this pandemic, if you see PBS lately, they've been running the 1918 influenza that swept America and the world. the Spanish flu, all the things that have happened, we've pulled together. And guess what? In the end, it wasn't the government funding that solved the crisis. In the polio epidemic in the 50s, the government wanted it to stop, but Jonas Salk was largely getting supported by charities and medical scientific organizations. Everybody wanted to find the solution to polio. So this is relatively unprecedented. I'm fairly convinced that Donald Trump and his staff, especially guys like Mnuchin, and these people know the mathematical game. I don't think they would have so quickly said, yeah, no problem, $2 trillion, print it up, let's get it out there, if this wasn't an election year. It's really sad the way the media is playing this. There is no, there's no civility among the two parties. And right now, the goal seems to be to lay as much blame as they can at the existing administration, so there's a chance of winning an election next November. And I think on the Republican side, hey, they had no choice, because the media makes it look like corporate America is just standing back, licking their chops, waiting to take back all that real estate and evict people, and the banks are enjoying it. It's just crazy. So we're never going to learn exactly what kind of community generosity there is unless we're left alone to solve this within the communities. So I think that people will take a look at the situation now, a few years from now, and sit back and say, my gosh, where did it end? Nancy Pelosi already has another $2 trillion. This time it's going to be more to the people she wants it to go to. It's just really out of control. Here's a statistic that may scare you. 30% of all of this $2 trillion largesse, or whatever you want to call it, is going to just complete waste. Absolutely unnecessary. Another $2 trillion could be necessary, but is not really necessary now. It's going to keep people from some short-term worry. And about a third of it is really going to rescue some people who have always been living on the edge. Which brings about another point. This whole crisis should emphasize something that's long been lacking in public schools, and that is teaching children, even in elementary schools, some basic economics. We are not a saving nation any longer. When they say that 60% of the population lives paycheck to paycheck, that must really be scary. There's a great statement that I heard about 25 years ago from an astrophysicist who tried to apply physics to the social arena, and that is, nobody grows old by surprise. How many times have people said, boy, save something for a rainy day? It's raining now, folks. But every government dollar that comes in is not as efficient as it would be if it was from your local community, who really knew which families were on the edge suffering. And it wasn't a blank check so that we can get the Kennedy library remodeled and other such nonsense. Just pathetic. Why do we care? What's 25 million amongst 2 trillion? Well, you should care. What we should care about more is not ever finding out who in your community would really stand up and say, hey, I'm not going to make this guy's life worse. I can continue. I'll give him the free vegetables that are rotting on in my supermarket. I'll give those away. And I think that would happen. We're already seeing landlords in New York that are letting people know, don't even worry about your rent. Let's get this thing over with first. And I think that'll happen nationwide if we would just butt out. Do what we can to keep morale going and put the money toward making sure that the emergency rooms get what they need, but you can't stop America from working. And you can't stop America from working this out on their own. We'll learn from this, and we are all in this together. And as a result, I think we would all rise to the occasion to help somebody who we can actually see in our city that needs help. And don't let the government print up capital that we all then and our children will never be able to pay off. But it's going to make it more difficult for us to negotiate in the world economy if our debt just soars to 25 trillion or more. There is no end to this. We're never going to see a political party be able to operate without the promise of more support for not working. Good luck to us all. Wash your hands. Thanks a lot.